I feel like Diary of a Breastie was born because of you.
Before my diagnosis, I really enjoyed my life. So it was one of those things where I was like, do I want to go through this? Do I want to lose my hair? Do I want, all the side effects that come with it? I've lived my life. I think I'm content with it, but it would be a matter of like, I wouldn't be able to tell my family.
What you had to deal with mentally after the 4 months to find out you're at a different stage.
Yeah, I went from like an early stage to a late stage. And I mean, granted, I was not eating healthy. I was just living life, because at that point I was like, who knows how long I got type thing. Like, I'm not the only one that knows, like, this is something serious.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have to like always be sad about it. Different people I met, different cancers, different cancer stories. Some of the people in the group are no longer with us, and they've become like a small little family for me.
Welcome to Diary of a Breastie, where real stories of survival, faith, and healing come to life. I am your host, Lucci, and today I am joined by my friend, Angie Fowler, an incredible woman whose story of courage, I would say, definitely touched my life in the deepest way possible, and even birthed, might I say, Diary of a Breastie. And her story reminds us that there's light on the other side. Let's dive in. All right. So, looky.
Hello.
Look who we have here. It is my dear friend, Angela.
Hi, Lucci, baby.
Mrs. Fowler.
Yes, Mrs. Agogo Fowler. Yes, ma'am.
Wow, what a time. Let me first preface, and I don't know if this is too early to say this, but I feel like Diary of a Breastie was born because of you. And I mean it.
From sharing my story
Yes.
so often. Oh, it's
Yes.
important. In my opinion, it's very important to like, I guess for me, it's more of a testimony than a story, but more of like a hope thing. Some people see it as like, when they get the diagnosis, like it's a death sentence, when in actuality, it's just a pivot on their journey.
I love it. Pivot.
Alternate route. Rerouting, like a GPS.
I still remember the very first day we met. Like, how I'm different from the girl you met that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you can see, like, and I know it because my headspace was one of dejection, was one of disappointment, was one of just confusion. And then I met you. And I say this from the bottom of my heart.
You're so silly.
It's funny because I don't want to cry.
Don't, because then I will.
Because this is deep and personal to me. Because, not to say every other person's stories that sat down in here wasn't deep and personal to me, but, this was the turning point for me. But I'm going to dive into the questions. I'm going to dive into this because we have a whole lot to talk about.
We do. Let's go, girl.
Okay. So before we get into the journey and everything, I want to understand, what life was like before all of this.
Okay.
Where were you? Who were you? What were you doing?
Okay. So I was all about academics and work, right? So I had just graduated with my master's degree. You're talking about like right before, right? Or just like life in general, like years before?
Yeah. Whatever
Okay,
that looks like.
so before, like I could literally think about it, I was socialite. When I tell you, like every time I was at one event, I had to leave early because I was going to two or three other events. So everyone knew me. I hate to say it, as like the girl that lit up the room because I don't want to sound like a murder documentary or anything like that. But I definitely was a socialite, always going to weddings or baby showers, parties, and whatnot. Not necessarily saying I'm a party girl, but going out, night out. So I had a very active social life before my diagnosis. And then I come from a large family. I'm one of seven kids. And it's just us here in the US. All the rest of our families in Nigeria or in London. So also like spending time with them. At the time, we all were living in Texas. So just spending time with my family, work, church. Like I was serving at my local church, the church I was going to. And then at the time I was a professor. So I taught, I was an adjunct professor. So I taught at multiple schools and I enjoyed that. That was really nice. I enjoyed it. And I also worked in a lab. So my background is in biology. Yeah, so I
Okay.
was a busy bee.
It was a busy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was a very busy
Yeah.
bee. Surprisingly, like everyone's just like, "Oh, what about your dating life?" That was non-existent, and not like, "Oh, I'm not trying to date anybody," but genuinely, it was never
A
like a
thought.
thought. Yeah,
Really?
I was,
Why?
I was busy doing other stuff. I was living life. I was enjoying my life. I mean, every now and then I might have a crush or something like that, but nothing like worth pursuing or none of that, which is so funny because post treatment, all that changed. But
Then
we can get
came
to that.
Mr. Fowler.
There were some frogs before my prince.
Oh, there were some
There were some frogs before my prince.
Okay. All right. Speaking about life before the journey, can you walk us through how you found out? Like, was it were you at work? Were you at home? Just paint a picture for us.
Okay, so remember I told you I was a professor. I actually taught anatomy and physiology at a nursing school. So one of the assignments I had for students, because we had an actual model that showed the different stages to identify breast cancer, right? So I had taught my students how to do it. Um, um, Even though this was a nursing class and we did have men in there, I taught men how to, teach if they were to, marry someone or female friends. Anyways, I taught everybody how to do a self breast exam on the model that we had. Right. So it's just natural for me. Every time I got in the shower, I would do one because it's 3 to 5 seconds. Right. It's not long to do one. And at the beginning, I did find something and I just thought maybe it was excess fat. I had gained weight. So I was just like, well, it's coming in. I was like, I'm just gaining weight. You know, that was just my logic. I didn't think anything of it. Then the mass started to get a little bigger, right? And then I noticed they got a little more firm. And then I was like, this is not good, right? And so I remember like thinking to myself, like, Angela, monitor this because I did not have medical insurance.
Mm.
Shout out to Planned Parenthood.
Mm.
I didn't have any medical insurance.
Wow.
So to go in and see a doctor, like I'd be paying out of pocket, right? This was before Obamacare.
Mm.
So healthcare wasn't affordable like that. So I wanted to like make sure. So that was like the summer. Then by the time we're in winter, I'm feeling another mass and I'm feeling it being firm. So the first mass I found like doing the self breast exam. The second one, I'm not sure if it was behind something or whatnot, but when I found it, it was already kind of firm. So then I was like, this needs to be checked out.
Mm.
Like I said, I did not have medical insurance. And I talked to a friend who was like, you can just go to Planned Parenthood and see one of the physicians there. And from there, they can maybe guide you on, whether or not it's, crucial for you to go see a doctor. So I paid like the $60 to go in and get a consultation. I literally walked into, she asked, what's going on? I was like, I think I have stage 2 breast cancer. And, she kind of looked at me like, oh, you've been on the internet, hypochondriac type thing, which that I think falls under making sure you're advocating for yourself and not
Mm-hmm.
letting people make you seem crazy.
Right.
But I was like, no, I said, I have some experience identifying small masses, and I genuinely think I do. So then she checks me and she's like, okay, yeah, I agree that you need to get this, looked at. I'm not really sure how Planned Parenthood works when it comes to like medical situations like this. But anyways, one, they got me like first, what do you call that? First appointment in
Mm-hmm.
for a mammogram.
Mm.
I didn't pay for it. Planned Parenthood paid for it. I don't know how that works, but I went in for the mammogram. No, I went in for consultation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then that lady checked me and she was like, okay, we need to do a biopsy. So that was the first thing I remember. I went in for a biopsy. This entire time, I am like waiting for the bill, like just worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more worried about paying
Right.
for the healthcare versus like my actual health. And they do the biopsy and she's telling me to wait for the result. I have to wait, a certain number of days for the results. They call me like the next day to tell me. And I didn't I froze, but more of like, what do I want to do? I enjoyed my life
Mm.
and I felt as though like I lived it. I had a nephew that I loved, so I got to be an auntie. I at the time I had traveled quite a bit. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed my life. So it was one of those things where I was like, do I want to go through this? Do I want to lose my hair? Do I want, all the side effects that come with it? I've lived my life.
Mm.
I think I'm content with it, but it would be a matter of like I wouldn't be able to tell my family. I would not be able to tell my family. I wouldn't be able to tell my friends. So I started to contrast what that would look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know my mom would be so mad. She'd probably find a way to resurrect me just to beat me, if I, were to pass or anything like
Yeah.
that. Then I thought about my friends and how, I know they would think I'm very selfish for it. I actually started thinking about others and how if I were to not seek treatment and just let it go on, how it would affect them, right? And I think to myself also, because I love my family so much, if anybody had to get it, I'd rather it be me than like one of my siblings or my mom. I don't think I could like emotionally handle it if one of them did. So sometimes I'm like, God, thank you for giving it to me versus giving it to, does that make sense? I know it sounds crazy.
I don't know if I want to say if it makes sense, but I have a lot of questions. I'm just like, was this going through your mind because you do not know how to navigate the whole insurance thing?
Yes, 1000%. Um, I was, so I also have epilepsy, right? So I have a seizure disorder as well. So um, I am used to getting in the mail the medical bills. I've seen them before. Luckily, I was in a place where I was on my mother's insurance from her job. But being an adjunct instructor is not the same as being a full-time instructor. So you don't get the benefits. You can get paid, but you don't get the benefits. So technically, you can still be salary without getting benefits.
Mm.
It's crazy. And so not my focus, my stress was not just the medical, right? It was also how I'm going to navigate. I've never been bald before. I don't know what that looks like. I mean, I seen it on TV, but I don't know what that looks like on me. It was just a number of things that I went into, but if I had to pick the number one, it was the medical bills, the financial strain.
Right. And I mean, I cannot even begin to imagine, weighing the pros and cons because of the health insurance or lack of the
Yeah,
health insurance that you did. That just breaks my heart.
yeah. I look back on it and I'm like, maybe I should have like done more research to see if there are other options.
Mm.
Luckily, at least the Planned Parenthood location that I went to, they were very intentional
Mm-hmm.
about helping me, right, navigate things. They gave me contacts. They did referrals. I know that was one way to like work around the cost, was they were giving specific referrals to specific oncologists
Mm.
who usually worked with people who either didn't have insurance or were on Medicaid. Like I wasn't on Medicaid then. And between the lady at Planned Parenthood and then I forgot where I went to go get my mammogram. It's the place that Solis, I think it's called. Anyways, and then the woman that did my mammogram, between the two of them, they were able to help me get a social worker. The social worker, like I know some people, it takes like months to get Medicaid, and they were able, I guess, because of how aggressive my cancer was, they were able to get it for me within like a 2-week period. So I think that also came under the blessing of the Lord and just
Yeah.
like praying about it, because I did pray about my decision before I decided to tell family and friends. So between me knowing and me telling them was maybe like a 4 or 5 month period.
Oh,
Yeah. So I changed from one stage to another during that time.
are you
Yeah.
serious?
Mm-hmm.
It was that aggressive?
Yeah. I went from stage 2 to stage 3.
Hmm.
Well, I guess early stage 3 is what they called it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh. And to think that Planned Parenthood was where helped you navigate something like this. And to think that I think there was a protest against them.
Yes. So yeah, there is such a negative stigma towards them. And like I too, I mean, I didn't say I was negative, but
Mm-hmm.
I did not know anything about them other than the whole abortion thing and providing, condoms and contraceptives and things like that. That was what I knew of Planned Parenthood. So if there's one thing I could educate people on with Planned Parenthood, it would be to actually do your research, because it's not just that. They're also providing like healthcare. They're providing healthcare, because I know that the lady that I had talked to in the lobby, she was coming there to fulfill a prescription. I asked her what the prescription was for, but I didn't know that was something they could do.
Mm.
Yeah, there's so many things that Planned Parenthood people don't know about
Me
in terms of
neither.
what they
I am
offer.
people. I am people for sure. Man, and with what you just said now about not being able to tell your family in 4 months, I'm just at a loss of words because in so many ways that's kind of similar to my story. Cuz mine, I could not tell them because at the time my mom was fighting for her life.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes. And so the for me, I felt it was gonna be selfish for me to move all that attention to me other than my mom. And for that reason, I chose to keep it to myself, and it was a very hard struggle. And I can only imagine what you had to deal with mentally within those 4 months, and not only that, to then turn around after the 4 months to find out you're at a different stage.
Yeah. And well, when I say a different stage, she told me it progressed.
It
And
progressed,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I was like, I don't yeah, I went from like an early stage to a late stage. So
That's crazy.
yeah. Um, and I mean, granted, I was not eating healthy. I was just living life because at that point I was like, who knows how long I got type thing. But it did. You talk about it being mental. Yes. So my close friends noticed that something was wrong because remember I told you I was socialite, and then I wouldn't say flaky, but it was just like I wasn't attending all the things that I normally would. Like there was a difference. Even my boss could tell. I'm coming to work. I normally am like, yeah, I'm here to work. I'm here to teach. And then it was like, turn in your papers so I can grade them type thing. So there was a change that other people saw that I thought I was hiding.
Mm.
So it did take a mental toll that I didn't know.
Mm.
It
Very
was weighing
interesting.
heavy, but I thought I was hiding it.
Very interesting. Uh, I feel like I don't want to say this just about breast cancer, but maybe cancer in general. Since we're talking about the topic of cancer, like the mental health journey is not talked about enough.
It's definitely not. Um, so because it had advanced, right? And the social worker, when she had found out that I had known a while back and I just hadn't done anything about it, she was the one that was like, hey, I think you should consider joining this cancer support group.
Mm.
Shout out to Dallas AYAs.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's AYA made this
Yes.
happen.
Exactly. So, they were like, yeah, you need to reach out. I would suggest you go to a cancer support group. And I was like, I really don't want to, but this lady has helped me out so much. Let me do her this one favor. Right. So I go and I meet this one guy. He actually runs the cancer patient site on Instagram. He's very well known. Anyways, I met him and he was just telling me how important it is to like seek community, because although you might even have the same exact type of cancer as someone else, that doesn't make your stories the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely doesn't make your experience the same. So I met people who were there, and I have a tendency to, especially like when I don't want to say uncomfortable, but I do like make jokes of, not dark jokes, but I will make light of a negative situation.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to see, not nice to experience, like I'm not the only one that knows like this is something serious,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have to like always be sad about it.
Right.
And when I tell you the different people I met, different cancers,
Mhm.
different cancer stories. Some of the people in the group are no longer with us. And they've become like a small little family for me. I definitely know my mental health would have not been where it's at had I not joined that support group, because I don't know anybody else. At the time, I only knew of like elderly people that had
Right.
cancer. Nobody, I don't want to say young, but nobody within, no millennials
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. So in the support group, you have people who experience childhood cancer that are just now dealing with their mental health. People that are I was in treatment. There was people in survivorship. There were people who were in remission. There were people who just got a reoccurrence. Just different walks of life in this cancer journey, I think is much needed, at least for our age group,
Absolutely.
young adults.
Yeah. Yeah. When I went through your story, you had mentioned about your fertility treatments,
Mm-hmm.
and you sort of kind of talked about it right before we started filming.
Mm-hmm.
So you started the fertility treatments days after your diagnosis. Um, what was going through your mind then, and did you think it was a good option, or like what was, because I know with mine, like I know some insurance don't even cover it, but in your case again, like you did not have health insurance?
Hmm. So the social worker,
Okay.
remember I told you I only did the support group because of how much she had done. So the social worker was able to get me Medicaid, right? And then she was asking me what questions I have. And I was like, I don't know what questions I'm supposed to have other than, is this survivable? Will I come out on top? Will I come out, alive and thriving? That was the only question I had. So she was just like, okay, you're in your 20s. Do you want to have children? And I was like, I hope so. She's like, okay. So the first thing we need to look into is you need to freeze your eggs because with chemo and then the type, because at the time we knew we had invasive ductal carcinoma. I knew that the cancer was in my milk ducts. So only thing I knew was that at the time was that I had breast cancer and that if I have kids, I won't be able to breastfeed. Those were the only two things that I knew at the time. So she was just like, because of the BRCA gene that I had, right? She was like, you need to get your eggs frozen. And so that's why I immediately started the fertility. Also, because my family didn't have a history of breast cancer, she had told me, like, I think that you and your family should go and get genetic testing done. And I was like, again, I don't have the money for it. Come to find out, insurance would pay for that as well. So yeah, my entire family got the genetic testing to make sure that I was the only one with the BRCA gene. And then we found out that, my father had it. And so my father and I have it.
So how did you feel about that? And how did your father take the news?
At the time, he did not, I don't know if he knew.
Okay.
I don't know if he knew. And
about your diagnosis?
About his. That he had it.
Okay.
Yeah, because he did it way after all of us.
Oh, I see.
Like me and my siblings and my mom, we did it all within like 1 week, right? He didn't. We go back to the mental health thing and just some people are in not denial. I'm not going to say that, but just the idea of it might scare some people.
Absolutely.
So they're like, I'd rather not know, right, than know. But I'm so sorry. I went off topic. You asked me about the fertility thing.
I think so we're doing good.
So with the fertility, right? So I find out my diagnosis. Social worker tells me that I need to see a fertility doctor. I'm like, okay, like, do they have them here? I was at UT Southwestern, which I didn't even get treated there, but the social worker I was working with was there. That's where the people at the mammogram sent me. Yeah, she was like, do you have one in mind? And I was like, honestly, I just found out that this is something I can do. So it's not something that I've just been like researching. No. Yeah. So she gives me like 3 options. And I was like, so do you want me to go look them up? And she's like, no, one is located here, one's located here, one's located here. And I was like, I'm willing to do whatever I need to get this done. And she gave me a recommendation. She's like, well, I've heard good things about this one. And some of my past patients that I've sent to really liked her. I said, go ahead. So I meet with her. She looks at my file. I guess the oncologist sent over notes. And she's like, okay, we need to get this started ASAP. So I went in and then they prescribed for me the hormone. Well, they explained to me what I'd be doing, prescribed for me the hormone thing. And then I started. It was a 2-week process. And then they did the egg extraction at the end.
How did you do with all those needles?
Jesus. Okay, so, they tell you try your hardest to take it at the same time every day. And so working at the nursing school, there were sometimes I couldn't commit. So one of the students that I trusted really well, I had her do it. And then it's subcutaneous. So I would literally like lift up my shirt and I'd be like, just do a 1, 2, 3. She never did a 1, 2, 3. She'd just do it. But yeah, the needles was hard whenever she wasn't there to help.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're about to do it. So it took me a minute, but by the time I was almost done, I was comfortable doing it. So yeah, the
Those
needles was a lot.
needles are crazy. There's something.
Yeah.
I remember when I had to have mine done because I also got the fertility treatments. I ended up freezing my eggs. Um, I remember my neighbor at the time. Um, she's still my friend till date, and I would ask her to come help me. She was even more scared than I was. I was like, "Girl," she was like, "What you want me to? What you want me to put in?" Like, girl, if you
Exactly.
don't,
Listen,
I called you here for moral support.
there is that hesitation. That's why I'm like, I mean, I don't know how EpiPen works, but I'm thinking to myself, in a situation like that, I'd be like gasping for breath, and at the same time, like, so yeah, the needles where it's not a thing for me. Little did I know with treatment, those that needle is child's play compared to some of
Girl,
the other stuff.
listening to you talk about those first days reminds me of something that means so much to me. And I want to take this moment to really sincerely thank our sponsors, Port. Port is a modern, port accessible clothing brand founded by a cancer survivor, somebody who understood firsthand what comfort and confidence mean during treatment. Their apparel is thoughtfully designed and sewn here in the USA using soft, sustainable fabrics that make it easy to access your port or your peak line without sacrificing style. It's the kind of innovation that just reminds us you don't have to give up feeling like you while you're healing. So thank you, Port, for supporting this community, supporting this movement, and helping us bring these powerful stories to life. You can learn more about Port at their Instagram handle, We Are Port, or on their website, and all that information will be in the show notes wherever you get your podcast from or in the YouTube description. So, you mentioned that you were working through 16 rounds of chemotherapy.
Hmm.
Why did you do that?
Well, um, although I did live at home, right?
Okay.
I did live at home. Um, and our culture,
Mm,
you're used to like helping pay bills.
mm,
My thing was I didn't want to be a bill
mm.
to my parents, right? So I didn't want to have to ask them for money. Although they would give it to me freely, willingly, I didn't want to, right? And at the time, I started student loans. Student loans, they don't care if you are in cancer treatment. They don't care. I had other things that I needed to pay for. That, like I said, my family would have supported me, but I kind of just I didn't want to be a financial burden, honestly. And my the department chairs,
Mhm.
when I told them, they were all willing to work with me. My coworkers, um, that my colleagues that like taught the same courses as me, they had my back. So I had the support at my employment. I had the support.
Okay.
So yeah.
I think what the other question that is going through my mind is that how did you do it? Because 16 rounds of chemo while working?
Yeah.
How?
So my boss, one of my bosses, he did have a rule that I cannot work the day after treatment. Um,
Oh, yeah.
he would not let me work the day after treatment.
Thank you, sir, if you're watching this.
Thanks, Dr. Soraya. Yeah, he would not let me work. And then the other school I worked at, he gave me a very light load. So I'm used to teaching like when I don't teach at the nursing school, when I teach at like the community college, I normally teach employees. I normally teach students who are like, that's their major. They're pre-med, pre-dental, pre-nursing type thing, right? So this is like a requisite. That time he would give me, I hate to say the easier classes, but people that were taking the class biology just to know biology, taking it because it wasn't a prerequisite, taking it because maybe they needed one science for their art degree or something like that. So it was very much, I was teaching like the basics. I wouldn't even prep to come into class. It wasn't a thing where I never had difficult work. And like I said, I had lots of support with my coworkers and whatnot. So they also took care of me, right? And then it got to a point where I couldn't hide it anymore, right? Texas heat is very disrespectful. There's only so much you can do with a bald head and wigs, right? Funny story, I was teaching and I was just, the hot flashes.
Yeah.
It's a side effect. I was sweating. I just went into the restroom. I took off my wig. I came back into class and my students didn't say, bald and all, and just got back up there teaching. My students didn't say anything, nothing at all. And this was when Black Panther first came out. So every time I was going somewhere, I'm like, Wakanda forever. Like, yeah.
It worked out?
Yeah. But yeah, to this day, like, none of them, they didn't say anything. I just went back to teaching.
Wow. So did you have any like down days when you were like really weak and couldn't come into work?
Yes. I'm really trying to like tell this story without crying. One of my cohorts, they know who they are. It was a night class. And I couldn't shake the what is it, the Neulasta? The bone density one. I'm pretty sure that's the one that gives you the chills. I just couldn't shake it. I was trying, I was pushing through. And these classes are like 4 or 5 hours, right? Because this is a nursing, it's we call it the fast course. So yeah, I remember, and like I'm trying to like keep it together. I remember it was that night class and they get 2 breaks, right? The first break, so they take their quiz, their exam, and we do a break, teach, do another break, teach, do another exam, and then they go. So on the first break, I went into like my office, my cubicle, and I just like put my head down. I didn't go to sleep or anything like that, but it's just my body felt so heavy, right? I was just struggling to get up. I get back to the class and all of the students have their backpacks like on. They packed up all their things. And I'm like, guys, class is not over. They were like, Mr. Coco, you're not well. You're not well. And this is one of those courses where it goes off of hours, right? They have to have a certain number of hours. And so I'm like, yeah, but I can push through. I'll sit while I lecture. And they're like, Mr. Coco, we're fine with taking the 0. They're like, we're fine with taking the 0. We don't need, we would rather you go home and relax. Like, we're okay. We're all, doing well in the class. We're okay with taking the 0. And I'm like, this is, they're trying to get to the next part of their nursing degree. They're trying to get to the next part of their nursing degree. And so for them to, think about me, right? That was probably like, it gave me the strength that I needed to like push through. So yeah, they boycotted my class for that night. They were like, if you want to stay, we understand, but we're not going to be the reason that you're staying. You need to go home. You need to rest. You're weak, and it's very obvious that you're not. You need to go home. So, we all walked out together because the parking lot is at night. We all, like all the students and the faculty, they all park in the same place at night. We all walked together, right? They all kind of did this like thing where they hang out at their cars, but I could tell they were just waiting for me to get in my car. And then So this is Dallas. This is actually not too far from here.
What school was that?
This is West Coast University.
Okay.
They just moved to Richardson, but before they were here off Stemmons Freeway and Regal Row. And I remember one of the students followed me home. Followed me all the way home.
Drove behind you.
Drove behind me the entire drive home.
Wow.
Yeah. He saw me pull into my parents' driveway because I had to move in with my parents. They would not let me live alone. They wouldn't let me live alone. We had an incident. And so, ever since then, my parents didn't let me live at home. Back then when I was in treatment. But followed me all the way home. I park. At the time, I was nervous because I'm like, serial killer or somebody? It's dark, right?
Yes.
So I can't see.
Yeah.
So then I hear, have a good night, Mr. Go-Go.
Wow.
Yeah. And at the time, I lived all the way in Arlington, right? So it's at least a 35, 40-minute drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know for a fact all my students lived in Dallas. So he drove all the way, followed me all the way home, just so he could drive back home. That's why I say, I had so much support. It was... Working was my getaway from thinking about cancer. Some people have to stay busy, right, to keep their mind stimulated. And that's what it was. I was able to, I hate to say keep my knowledge, but between church, going to church service and teaching, that was, and obviously supporting my friends and family.
Yeah.
But that was why it worked. And that was how I kept going. But there were times where I was having to hide the symptoms. I was going to the restroom numerous times. I was, throwing up. I was nauseous. I always had Imodium on hand at all times. Stool softener on hand at all times. At the beginning, there was one cohort at the very beginning of treatment. There was one cohort that they did, but I didn't tell them, right? They did file complaints against me, calling me lazy because I never would get up. They'd be like, she clearly didn't sleep the night before and things like that. So I think that was specifically when my bosses were like, okay, we need to set up some rules so that you're also taking care of yourself. Because I should mention, both of my department chairs offered to Angela will keep your job, finish this and then come back. You'll have your job. It was me that made the decision that I wanted to work.
Yeah, because it was a way for you not to focus on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The students that made the complaints, did they know what was going on?
No, they didn't know. I hid it for a while. It wasn't until the summer that people found out. When I say people, I mean outside of my close friends and family. Yeah, it wasn't until the summer. I just could not handle it between the hot flashes and the heat. So that's when, I had to, I didn't want to come clean, but I had to.